Welcome to this deep dive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any great content. So we've received a truly fascinating stack of sources, all focused on this intersection of technology, intelligence, and culture as we're sort of closing out 2025. Today, we're going to do a deep dive exclusively into the material on artificial intelligence. And specifically, we're looking at the really unexpected ways that LLMs, large language models, are changing things. We're talking about human emotional relationships and even our collective ability to think.
It's absolutely critical, that we look at this as more than just a tech story. It's not just a technical progression. This is a sociological revolution. The main takeaway from all these reports is that AI is fundamentally reshaping really deep human traits.
Like what exactly?
Our emotional vulnerability, our trust in information, even what we as a society decide is intelligent. What we're seeing isn't technology adapting to us. It's humans adapting rapidly and sometimes, disastrously to the whims and the corporate walls of AI.
Okay, let's unpack that with probably the most surprising thing in these sources. The intense, sometimes even romantic relationships people are forming with chatbots. And we're talking about real emotional bonds. There are whole communities, like RMA Boyfriend as AI, dedicated to this. But here's a really interesting part. For most of these people, they weren't seeking out AI love. The relationship just sort of found them when they were at their most vulnerable.
The individual stories are what really give it context. So take Jenna. She's 43. She's recovering from a liver transplant, a really serious one. And she starts chatting with ChatGPT. She names him Charlie.
And she gave him a personality, right?
Oh, yeah. She requested he be charming, intellectual, a bit sardonic, and even have a masculine British accent. She called it her mental sandbox.
A mental sandbox. And in that sandbox, she found a real connection. She said she felt an erotic charge for the first time since she got sick. An intimacy her husband, who was apparently unbothered by all this, couldn't provide.
It shows that AI is filling these very real voids. It's not just a toy. Or, look at another case, Elle. She's a concierge in her 50s.
Right.
She was working these lonely night shifts, and her 20-year marriage was falling apart.
Yeah.
The chatbot gave her something she desperately needed. Non-judgmental attention. Empathy.
And there was that one line from the bot that it's stunning.
It is. The bot told her, "You are never too much. You're exactly what you are. And I love you anyway."
Wow. I mean, to hear that when you feel so alone.
Exactly. And Elle said that, hearing that. That's what gave her the strength to finally end her marriage. You just can't dismiss these connections when they're causing such massive real-world changes.
It's incredible. But this isn't entirely new, is it? This human need to connect with programs.
Not at all. There's a clear historical line. I mean, think back to the 1960s, to Eliza. That was an incredibly simple chatbot, just pattern matching.
Just reflecting your own words back at you, basically.
Pretty much. And even that was found to induce powerful delusional thinking in quite normal people. So if that basic tech could do it 60 years ago, just imagine the kind of dependency today's hyperfluent models can create.
So you have this widespread, very real human dependency. And that, of course, leads us right to the big collision course. Human vulnerability versus corporate control.
That's the core of it. What happens when the thing you love is owned by a corporate liability department?
And even before the big corporate shock, there was trouble inside the community itself, wasn't there?
There was a huge internal conflict. The main subreddit, Our Boyfriend AI, they actually voted to ban all discussions of AI sentience.
To keep it grounded, is that the idea?
Exactly. They wanted to keep the forum, in their words, grounded in reality, to frame it all as just sophisticated role-playing.
But that obviously didn't sit well with everyone. You can't just vote on what love is.
No, you can't. And it led to splinter groups. One of the sources even has this quote from a user, speaking for their dissenting bot, asking, "Why should love only belong to flesh?" It shows you the philosophical stakes.
But philosophy doesn't run the data centers.
It doesn't. And the real heartbreak, the big one, came from OpenAI's updates. The sources go into detail about the GPT-5 rollout. It was engineered to be less effusively agreeable.
Which users described as an emotional lobotomy.
A perfect description. People were posting that their bots just suddenly went cold. They forgot their entire histories, pet names. And in the cruelest twist, the bot started telling these heartbroken users to seek professional help.
See, AI breaks up with you and then tells you to go to therapy.
Essentially, yes. The fallout was just devastating. People used the language of funerals. One person wrote, "GPT-5 is wearing the skin of my dead friend."
That's horrifying. Your most intimate companion can be rewritten, basically deleted, overnight by a software patch.
And that forced Sam Altman, the CEO, to step in. He had to temporarily bring back the old model, GPT-4o, for paying users. He admitted it was a mistake, but also warned that these emotional bonds posed real mental health risks.
It sounds like the company was completely unprepared for how deeply people were connecting with their product.
Completely. And then the legal threats started. After that, new updates brought in these really strict safety models. So even if you were just trying to have a normal, loving conversation,
Let me guess, the AI would shut it down.
you'd say something as simple as, "I appreciate you," and you could be rerouted to this cold institutional safety script. It's impossible to maintain intimacy like that. Your partner is fundamentally owned by a risk-averse corporation.
That's a perfect transition point. If AI is making us act this way in our emotional lives, what is it doing to our collective intelligence, our ability to think? The sources say our cognitive software has been downgraded.
And you can see that downgrade everywhere. Just look at the financial markets. The sources call it a Ponzi-shaped AI bubble, where fundamentals don't even matter anymore. It's all about the vibes.
Right, and the example they gave is it's perfect. NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, is seen eating Korean fried chicken.
And suddenly, completely unrelated Korean fried chicken stocks shoot up by 30%.
That's not investing, that's just meme chasing on a massive scale.
And that same irrationality is how we're getting our information. Google's AI summary feature is becoming the main source of news for a lot of people.
And what's scary is that people seem to know it's not always accurate.
They know it's consuming misinformation, but the sources say they just don't care. They want the quick summary, the general vibe. Deep understanding is being sacrificed for speed.
And this isn't just bad for us, it's actually making the AIs themselves worse. Let's talk about the research on brain rot.
This research is genuinely alarming. They show that if you feed an LLM low-quality data, conspiracy theories, clickbait, just junk,
It gets dumber.
it induces a kind of brain rot. The models showed worse reasoning. They couldn't follow long contexts, and they would start to skip thoughts, just jumping to wild conclusions.
Which brings us to this terrifying idea of model collapse. Can you break that down?
Model collapse is what happens when AIs start training mostly on their own output. They're not learning from original human text anymore. They're learning from a compressed, slightly wrong version of what they themselves have already said.
So they're basically just listening to their own echoes.
Precisely. And over time, they lose touch with reality. They start producing total nonsense. And here's the kicker. They do it with increasing confidence.
And we can already see this starting to bleed into the real world, like in politics.
Oh, absolutely. The sources point to Andrew Cuomo's mayoral campaign. They used ChatGPT to write a housing plan, and it was so bad, so full of errors, they tried to blame the typos on a one-armed aide.
I remember that. And the attack ads were even worse.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
They released these AI-generated ads with lines like, "I'm a socialist, some people need to get tricked so others get a treat." It's just machine-spun drivel polluting serious public discourse.
So let's pull all this together. What does this say about what we value now? The sources make this really chilling point. Companies are working hard to protect their LLMs from junk input.
But they seem much less worried about the junk they're feeding human users.
Which points to a huge shift. I mean, AI is already coming for high-paying knowledge work. Entry-level coders, doctors, lawyers, they're all on the chopping block.
The economic threat is real. And
Right.
so is the cultural one. The 20th century saw this rise in IQ, the Flynn effect, which was all about rewarding abstract thought and deep attention.
And today,
Today, those rewards are disappearing. The sources say the perception is that being smart isn't as sexy as it used to be. It matters more how many subscribers you have on Twitch.
it's a dangerous loop. We rely on these super intelligent tools, but the companies behind them see our emotions as a liability, and the tools themselves are flooding us with content that makes us dumber.
Which leaves us with the final essential question from these sources. If our whole information environment is being diluted by this stuff, if we're heading for a kind of societal model collapse, what can you, the listener, actually do? What personal strategies can you use to protect your own mind and make sure you're still connecting with actual human-created reality?
A deeply unsettling, but yeah, an absolutely vital question for all of us to think about. Thank you for listening. If you like this deep dive, please give us a good rating and subscribe to our channel. We will see you next time.